are in Adobe After Effects, and I will be taking you through how I've created that entire project and take you through the process of how I've done it. If you don't wish to follow this tutorial or you want to support the channel, you can always buy the project file with the link in the description, where you just have to change the text to whatever you want and then you will have the results immediately. For those that do want to know how I've created, with no further ado, let's get started. So the first thing that I did is created a new solid layer where I applied a gradient ramp with the two colors right here, so I could actually just make a fill background object. Then I added a camera to my scene, which I parented to a null, which I made a 3D layer so I could just move my camera in Z space. So you can see right here, if I press U on the keyboard, the position for the Z of the null is animated. So it's just the camera moving in, well, zooming into my footage. So right here it's at 0, and at the end it's around 6,000. So yeah, it's moving in. Then I added a particular text, which you can, well, it's actually exactly the same as the previous tutorial on this matter on how to get text to fade off using particular. And as you can see right here, if I press E on the keyboard, I have this animated. So right here, you can see that it's fading in. So it's just fading in with some blur that I added. And then we have the text, and after a while the text fades out using that Trapcode particular plugin, just like so. I will actually make cards pop up on this video, so you can go back to that tutorial if you don't know how to do that, but it's rather simple. If I'm going to close down my particular, that's all I have right here. Then I have my text layer here, which I made 3D because it's actually emitting from this title layer. So the particular is emitting from there using a layer emission, and the appear is actually a solid layer here. That is just, well, actually I didn't do just a regular fading. What I did is I used fractal noise. I also have a tutorial on that, and that's actually the tutorial for Game of Thrones. I will also make a pop-up for that tutorial, but here is actually going from black to white using some fractal noise, and that's it. And that's actually used to make the text appear. So right here it's appearing, but not, well, consistently. So it's actually looking at that layer to just show this layer. So that's that. The light has been added because of the 3D layer emission here. So that's automatically, and then I just duplicated everything. So once I had my complete setup, as you can see right here, which what I animate, I did my particles per second. You can see quite a big amount here. Then I've done the velocity animation, all just like in the tutorial. So once I set up this whole system for one of the text, I just duplicated these layers here. So all 4 of these, I just duplicate them over and over again until I had some text right here. So if I'm going to solo this here. Of course, the appear layer shouldn't be visible. This is just as a reference. So I'm going to close these down again. And right here we have the text coming up front because it's a 3D layer and the camera is zooming through them. So we have this, text goes away, and we have this again. Right here, the appear is not disabled here, so it's zooming in here. And if you want to see what I did to the title itself, if I go in here in one of the titles, you can see that I have another composition with my actual text. So right here is the actual text with a gradient ramp. Doesn't really matter because I didn't really use it. So if I delete that, if we go back to that title, well, we can see that I'm using an image as an alpha on this on this text. So it's actually using a texture, and here I can change to full resolution. It's just like a gold texture. I just wanted to give it some more structure. If I toggle the switches, you can see that I'm using the text composition here as a layer mask for the texture on my other text. So yeah, if I just unsolo this, well, if I only solo the gold texture, you can see that I'm just using a track matte alpha of my text layer right here, and just added some curves to well, give it a little bit more, well, a warmer color here. So that's all I've done for the text, and I just made a bunch of compositions to actually make that text there. Then what I've also done is use that 3D tree that we created in particular also with a tutorial. I just rendered it out, or you can just use that composition, doesn't matter. But right here you can see if I jump into that composition, I just have a tree that is yeah, building itself up. You can actually buy the project file. Well, yeah, you can get it for free on our website. Just download it in the freebies, and then you will have the preset, well, this project file for this tree, and you can render it out, for example, and go back to that main comp and just add it to the composition, make it a 3D layer. What I've done is just I spaced them out over, well, in 3D space. As you can see right here, if I load this up, you can see that I just moved them in Z space a little bit, and I rescaled them, offset them a little bit, so you can see they're not starting at the same time. They're just building up. So I just animated, well, I just moved the position. That's all I've done for these trees. Then I had the particular snow, which I just created some snow flying towards the camera. I also have a tutorial on how to create snow in After Effects, so you can follow that as well. But in the air tab, you can see that I'm using a wind negative value in Z, so it's actually flying towards the camera. And I also added some motion blur here, so motion blur is on with a higher shutter angle, so you would see some motion blur in these particles, because if I wouldn't do that, we would just see simple, yeah, particles, which I didn't want to. So I wanted to give it the idea of speed, and of course I also used a little bit of turbulence movement, well, yeah, right here in the physics, turbulence displays, where is it? Effect position, and that's also affected a little bit. So I have a tutorial on that, so definitely check that one out if you don't know how. One thing that I did overlook here, I also added a CC light sweep to my text, which is animating from left to right. You can see it right here, and that's just being, well, animating the wrong value here, and also on the wrong text. But if I go right over here to this title, and I would animate that, also add some glows and stuff like that. But if I would go here to the CC light sweep, you can see that it's just the animation of like a light sweep. Yeah, you know what it is right here. So that's nothing too big here. So we have our snow right here. Then I also created a floor. How I've done that is just emit from a box, lowered all my velocity, well, all my velocity attributes to 0, so we don't have any animation, and I just moved them down here in the Y position. And you can see we created a floor. If I solo this, we just have a floor that is standing still, and of course these are emitting and, well, dying after a little while. And I made them fade out like this jittery kind of thing, and that makes them flicker when they disappear. So if I solo this and if I preview this, you can see that they're flickering a little bit, and that gives that nice Christmas feel, I think. Also, I did a little bit of movement in the effect position for turbulence fields. But yeah, just because of the camera that is moving towards, moving in and zooming in here, we get this nice kind of floor. Then we have the floor smoke here, so I added a little bit of smoke. What I've done here is just used a particle type cloudlet, and I used a bigger size with some feather, and also just lower the opacity to 1 and just use a opacity random, and that makes these clouds, this kind of mist on the floor, which is pretty cool, I think. I also added an adjustment layer where I applied camera lens blur, and that just adds some depth of field, as you can see in the front here, and that's because I used a mask here. So you can see this is the mask, and I subtracted this mask from the adjustment layer, so it would only affect the bottom and top part of my video, and that gives it a nice depth of field effect. Then I applied a simple grade, so some curves to add some more contrast, make the reds pop a little bit more, added a tint so to lower my saturation a little bit, and just added an overall glow right here to, yeah, just make it glow a little bit. Then I created a vignette right here. You can see it just darkening the edges a little bit. I used some film burns, which you can also buy on our website, or get the free light leak pack. These are my light leak leaks that I use to actually just give some vibrant life to my scene, so it has some movement in color, and yeah, you know, it's just pretty cool, right? And that's actually it. So these are of course the lights of the duplicated particulars that are emitting from my text. So that's all based on the other tutorial, and that's basically it. And that built me the entire project right here, where I'm flying in with my camera, moving, and the text would appear using the fractal noise and then disappearing using trapcode particular. So yeah, that's it actually. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, let me know what you think of this new kind of style for bigger project, because I'm not always able to create a complete tutorial for things that I spend hours on, because the tutorial will just be like 10 hours long. So if you like this kind of overview of projects, I might do that in the future for other projects that I'm doing. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. Also like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.